Okay,
This meeting is being recorded.
this meeting is being recorded. Okay, thank you so much. So, yeah, getting us started, these are our facilitators. These are the people who will be taking us through the presentation. We've all introduced ourselves earlier. Afesobi is a dentist, been in Canada for 2 years. Esther is a product manager. She been here for 7 years, came to do a master's and never went back. Tolu is a public health practitioner, and myself, or the communications manager, I've been here for 3 years. Now, I will be taking us through a couple of items and go to the next facilitator. So the first one I'll be starting with is newcomer registrations and key information. Now, for some people who've already settled in, you may have already gone through all the stages, but for those who've just been here a couple of days or a couple of months, you may still find some of this relevant. So the first thing is to call or visit an immigration serving organization after you've gotten to wherever it's your initial place of residence. I'm starting with this because, once again, we are not professionals. The government of Canada has partnered with several NGOs who are their sole job is to help newcomers settle down. And when you reach out to these immigrant serving organizations, they'll give you all the information you need. They have experts who tell you whatever is unique to your province or your city, whatever benefits you can get, everything you need to know to settle in well as a new immigrant. They could even assign a counselor to you who you could reach anytime. It depends on whatever process or system that they have. Now, the next thing important thing you really want to do is want to be sure you've applied for your social insurance number at the Service Canada Center. If you don't know where that is, just Google Service Canada on your Google Maps and to show you the closest one to you. You also want to apply for a government health insurance card. So this can be done online. You just Google government health insurance, or you could actually go to find out this information from the Service Canada Center as well, and they will point you to the right direction. You also want to open a bank account and apply for a credit card. We're going to talk more on this later as we go further into the presentation. But yeah, you want to start opening a bank account quickly. You could do a research on the different bank accounts. Certain banks have special offerings for newcomers, but your research will let you know which will be the best bank to use. You want to learn the best way of making phone calls or accessing the internet. There are several telecom services, and they all have different promos and packages at different times. So if, for instance, you want to be calling the US a lot, maybe you have family in the US, some have a package that is affordable that includes free calls to US, some do not. So based on your individual needs, you could research on the different telecom service provider to find which one will be best for you and which one has a promo going on at the moment that you find more attractive. Also, familiarize yourself with your new neighborhood. Go on walks. I know it's getting colder now, but just layer up, go on walks to understand the neighborhood. You can go into Google Maps and just scroll around to find, okay, is there a library? Is there a recreational center? Where's the park? Where are these places? So that when you need something, you can easily get up and go to where that thing is within the neighborhood. Study your transportation option in your neighborhood. Some places have good bus systems, some do not, some have trains, some do not. But yeah, it's good for you to study them and if know, okay, these are the systems available and this is how they work. A lot of newcomers have instances where they can get stuck for an hour or two or more because they lost their way and took the wrong bus or the wrong train or something, right? Especially now that we are getting into the cold period. So heads up, in the winter, your phone battery may die more quickly. So yeah, now is the best time to start studying the transportation system so you don't find yourself in a situation where you're in the middle of this cold in the winter and your phone is dead and you don't know your way around, which has happened to some people. Um, Memorize the emergency phone number, 911, very important. If you have kids, they should also know 911, very important, whether it's a security emergency, a medical emergency, a fire, whatever it is. If something is an urgent emergency, you need urgent assistance, call 911 and they will direct you to the right channels and send help your way. Enroll your children in school, which I'm sure all the parents here have already jumped on, or kids should already be in school now. Yes, so early education here is free, so you want to enroll your children in school as soon as possible. Get your credential accredited if necessary. If you intend to further your education here, I think most of us already did that if you're coming here as a student or came here as a PR. But if you came here as a PR and you want to go back to school, you need to do different accreditation because the accreditation done for immigration is different for the one done for education. It's just like an update on what you already have. So just have that in mind, and you may want to get started if you're looking to go to school. But now, for those who are, so you need to learn also how to apply for childcare benefits and the childcare subsidy. The childcare benefits is given to eligible parents based on their income and other factors, and it's given by the Canadian Revenue Agency. You just go to the website and you see all the information you need there. The childcare subsidy is for the way the government tries to subsidize whatever you are paying for child's daycare, and it's only for eligible parents as well. So you'd also visit your provincial government's website for more on that. Now, in your first 2 months in Canada, you want to look into improving your English or French by enrolling in any of the taxpayer-funded language classes. So, like I think it's Ebenezer who said this in Quebec, right? So it's a good thing you're already looking to try to learn that. It's not mandatory, but it's just a nice to have. If you're not so great in English or you'd like to learn French as well, which can be helpful for certain jobs, which you say, which I would actually prefer bilingual applicants. So it's a good skill to have if you're interested. There are certain courses that are available for newcomers within a particular space of time. Like, oh, if you've been in Canada for maybe 6 months or 1 year or 2 years, certain NGOs offer like free French classes or subsidized French classes to help you with that. So yeah, the going to the newcomer services there, you would help you get this relevant information. To apply for Canada child tax benefit, if you have a dependent under 18 years old, you need to also look into getting your Canadian driver's license if you plan to drive in Canada. If you were driving in Nigeria, you have an opportunity to get a letter from Nigeria, from the FRSC, saying that this person has been driving for XYZ number of years. And if you take that letter, with that letter, after doing your first initial writing test, the driving test, which is the theoretical one you do on the computer, with that letter, you could potentially get an exemption from the next stage and just go to the main stage. The stages are called different things in different provinces. In Ontario here, they are called G1 for the written test, G2 for the regular driving test, and G for the general driving. Different provinces have different terminologies, and most of them have that tier of writing, then the first level of driving and the main level of driving. So if you want to look into which one will be best for you, if you plan to drive in Canada, note that if you don't have that extract from Nigeria, after doing your G1, right, you would have to wait for a bit before you can do the next level. And some provinces, the wait time can be even up to 1 year between levels. So not like you can just jump into it. So the sooner you do the research on this, the better. And learn about Canadian laws, your rights and responsibilities. The law is very, very important here. They stick to the rules as much as possible, and ignorance is no excuse. And so you want to learn about the laws that are really relevant to you, so that you do not, find yourself having any, legal or police situation. And search for a house or home to rent or buy. I know that as most of us are new immigrants, buying a house may be like, oh, totally out of the question, but it's never too early to start doing the research, even if you are not ready now, because you never can tell what information you will get that will make you see that, oh, I'm actually in a position to actually buy a house. Some people have bought a house in, you know, 2 months. Some people have bought a house in maybe 10 years after they have been here. The time is different for everybody, but you just want to get the relevant information so you're empowered to make the right, decision when you are ready. Learn your rights as a tenant. This is very important because yes, all of us when we reach here, when we get here, we often start off as tenants, and there are some responsibilities and rights of the tenants, and there are some responsibilities and rights of the homeowner. So you need to know your rights so that nobody intimidates you or takes advantage of you because you're a newcomer, and also so that you also do not get in trouble for not understanding what is your own responsibility as a tenant. You also want to search and apply for job opportunities, which is a given. I'm sure we are all on that at different levels. And you want to learn your rights as an employee, so you know how to stand up for yourself and speak up with the workplace when you need to, because you know your rights as an employee. And also find the closest public library from your home. Public library offers some added services. It's not libraries. It's not just, they don't just like have just books, right? Some of them have community programs or courses, maybe art and art lessons or some things value-added services that they give. Some of them, if you're a member, you could go there to print documents. They have internet services if you're having internet issues at home, and some other value-added services. So it's good to just visit the closest public library just to see what they offer. Some of them also have like discounts or some added value-added services for newcomers that extend beyond the library. Like maybe you can go to the zoo for free or some other thing. Depends on the individual library and what they offer. So just pay them a visit to find out. Find a family doctor. You need a family doctor for health issues because you can't just walk into the hospital here unless it's an emergency. They've structured the healthcare such that every medical issue that's not an emergency, you're supposed to go through a family doctor, which is kind of just like a clinic, a neighborhood clinic, and then they would then refer you to where you need to go to because everything is by appointment. But if it's an emergency, you're in the house or hot water spilled on you, you were walking, you sprained your leg or you broke your wrist or something. If something happens, you need immediate medical attention, please go straight to the emergency section of the nearest hospital to you and they will attend to you. But if it's not an emergency and it's just, oh, I think I should just get this checked, something, then you could, book an appointment with your family doctor and go have it checked out. So make sure you receive your permanent resident card from IRCC within 2 months from the date of your arrival. This is for permanent residents. So when you apply for your permanent residency card, you should get it within 2 months. And yeah, make sure you receive it and look out for that. Yeah, so the next thing I would like to go into is settlement services.
Are you new to Canada?
I'm just going to enable the audio just a minute.
Are you new to Canada? Are you new to Canada? Do you have questions about services available to help you settle in Canada? Did you know that organizations in your community offer settlement services? Find the information and services you need for your life in Canada. Visit canada.ca/newcomer services to learn more.
I hope you all heard the audio for that video. Yeah, so this is just to portray the importance of taking advantage of settlement services. The government pays these organizations money from taxpayers' money to help newcomers settle in. So it's always a good thing to just see, go check out, even if you're a student, a PR, whichever way you came to Canada, to say, hey, this is my status. I came here in this way. And I just want to see if there's any service, any way you can help me. If that particular service only caters to, maybe they only cater to women and you're a man, or maybe they only cater to PRs and you're a student, or only refugees, you could always ask them to point you to which services would be better for you, and you could always take advantage of this list. So there are government funding organizations that help newcomers, immigrants, or refugees settle in Canada. They provide different services, but most of them could help you with settling down to day-to-day life. They help with newcomer related forms, like you want to apply for childcare benefits, you want to apply for something as a newcomer and you don't know, the form is too lengthy, you don't know what to go about it. They could help you with that. They could help you learn about community services around you that are there for your benefits. They could assist you with applying for a health card. Some of them also offer tax filing assistance during tax season. So we all know that understanding the tax system here is a totally different ball game. But you could go to the settlement services and they actually have like professionals who, not all of them, but some of them are professionals who will just say, oh, just bring this, and we'll file your taxes for you. And some of them help you with applying for child benefits or help you with, learning English or French. Some of them actually have classes that they do in those service settlement centers where you sign up for those classes and they could teach you on learning English or French or career related course or any other settlement related course. And they offer various employment services, like I mentioned, employment coaching, employment guidance, and courses and workshops to help you, better prepare for the workplace. They help you with finding a job. Some of them are actually connected to certain organizations who send them open jobs and postings directly and actually consider them whenever they send. So you give the settlement service your resume and settlement service will help you forward it to the relevant organization that is recruiting. Not all settlement services do it this way, but they all have their different methods. But to some level, they could help you with finding a job. They could help you with creating your Canadian resume and cover letters. They could help you. There are some of them have special services for women, for youth, for refugee, and for seniors. And they could help you with shopping information, food, clothing, and more. Or they could give you information on housing and education. They could help you sign up your kids for school or university. They could help with signing up for low budget housing if you need something affordable that you need help with. They could help with health and recreation information. If you need to sign up for a gym or community center with recreational activities as a newcomer, some of them could help you get discounts in those places, or even free sign up for a duration of time in some of these places. They could give you information on getting a driver's license or your staying, and they could refer you to other community programs and resources that they may not be able to provide. So if you have any peculiar need or general need that particular service doesn't provide, they could say, oh, don't worry, you could go to this place or that place instead, and they will help you with that. Now, once again, to find which settlement service is closest to you, just go to canada.ca/newcomer services. When you get there, you just put in your postal code for where you live, and to show you the newcomer services that are around that city or town or in the province you currently reside. I also benefited from these settlement services when I came here. I had one that helped me with my resume. I got a counselor. She reviewed my resume. She made changes. She helped me, make my resume stronger. There was one that they also helped with, like if you just got a job, they help with trying to help you get a job. And if you just got a job and you needed to buy something, maybe you don't have a suit to wear for the interview, or you need a uniform, you don't have money, or I got a survivor job that I needed the steel-toed boots and the particular safety shoes for. And someone told me, oh, no, don't buy it. Just go to me and reach out to them and say, okay, just buy it, send us the invoice. And I sent it to them and they refunded the money to me, which was really nice. So they all offer different kinds of services. Not like every settlement service offers every single thing here, but they could help you in some way or the other, or point you to, any other settlement service that could better help you in that aspect. And now I pass over to Esther for more on finance, banking, taxes, and credit.
All right, thank you, Orade. That was really good. Before I say anything here, number one, disclaimer, I am not a financial advisor. So do not take my, how do they say those disclaimers? You get my point though. I'm not a financial expert. So if you need financial expertise or advice, please see a financial advisor. I don't know, I probably said that all wrong, but you get my point. What I'm going to do is I'll just in 10 minutes summarize a few things around, settling in from a financial standpoint, just the day-to-day things that you need to do, a summary of, just regular important things to do. And then hopefully during the Q&A session at the end, because we're trying to get this session to be, the first half of it will be just a summary of the presentation, and then we'll give time for questions and answers. And then at that point, if you have any specific questions and I have that finance related, I can answer. If I don't have the answers, I will be honest to let you know, to maybe find out later or direct to someone who can. Okay, having said that, so if you're new in Canada, of course, you want to not only settle things around where you live and what you do, but you also want to start to get your finances in order. I would assume that at some point you're trying to move, even before you moved or you traveled or you came down, you've already tried to move your Naira into, Canadian dollar, like moving that. Someone was telling me that you don't buy Naira, you buy the higher currency. So you've used your Naira to buy Canadian dollars at this point. And now you're looking for a bank to, do your regular banking with. So as you become even more aware of, Canada has, the five major big banks. There are other banks apart from these five, but I recommend the big banks because when it comes to do with your money, you don't want stories that touch. So the big five banks, the Scotiabank, BMO, Bank of Montreal, RBC, TD, CIBC. Of course, there are other banks that you can use. There are also what they call like alternative banking. I don't know if that's the right phrase, but they are banks or fintech banks that don't have like a physical office location, that offer very similar services with these other more established traditional banks, like, Tangerine is one popular one. But you can start off with, there's nothing that stops you from having more than one bank account or from banking with more than one bank. I recommend that you can start with, one of these big banks. They offer very similar services. So services around your checking account, which is in Nigerian terminology will be your current account. They offer savings account, then there's the regular savings, and then there's the what you call the TFSA, which is the task-free savings accounts. They offer credit card services. So just to touch a bit on checking, savings, TFSA, and credit cards. So typically, like with Scotiabank, which I use, you will have all of these in that one account, right? So they'll give you a checking account, which is your regular account where you do day-to-day activities. Typically, your checking account will have like an annual fee. Sorry, not annual, it's monthly fee. Actually, sometimes you take that out monthly. You will have transaction fees, but a lot of the transaction fees around checking accounts is waived, is free. You will have your savings account where you can put money from your checking into your savings. The thing about your savings account too is, if you're going for a savings account that is not a task-free savings account, as you start incurring interest, even the very, very, very minute interest, but if it's not a task-free savings account, then your interest could be taxed by the government, right? Because they don't play around with taxes here. Anytime they see that you're getting, profit on anything, it's liable for being taxed as an income, or as a taxable income, except you put it in a tax-free savings account. So that tax-free savings account, TFSA, is the government's way of allowing individuals to save money without needing to tax them, but it's usually to a particular limit, right? So every year you have a TFSA limit. I forget what the amount is, but you can always, like, if you go on their website, the CRA website, if you just Google it, you'll find a way to determine your TFSA limit. And CRA, which is the Canadian Revenue Agency, has a way of always communicating that to you as well, which is kind of the limit to which you can put money in that account without needing to pay taxes on any interest. So if your TFSA limit, for instance, is $50,000, it means that you can put money in that account. If you get interest on the savings, it's not taxed up until you have more than $50,000 in that account, and then they start to think about taxing it. And then, of course, they offer credit card services. They will offer you that. I'll speak a bit more on credit cards in another slide. There's online banking. For a lot of transactions, you wouldn't need to go into the bank. You can do all of that from your phone, from the app. I think it's very similar because, to be honest, I think Nigeria's financial system is pretty evolved in that sense. Like, we have online banking and all of that. If you need to make payments like your rent, mortgage, things that are kind of, relatively large amounts of money, you can make use of. They have instruments like the void check or deposit form, which you can always download from your online account and send it to like your landlord to make payments. They also offer bank drafts, which you can walk into a branch and you get a bank draft. It's pretty much a check that the bank makes out from your account to the payer or the payee that you're sending it to. And you can also get a checkbook. It's not very common for people to get checkbooks or to get checks. There are very few institutions that ask you to pay by check. And so there's that. And then, of course, if you settle and you want to start making investments or investing in different financial instruments like mutual funds, index funds, these things are available via your banking accounts with these banks and other banks that are not listed here. And in most cases, you can also self-manage on that. The one thing I do want to point out here as a tip that I want to stress is the fact that you need to get into the habit of speaking with your account officer and asking for offerings, like what are they offering, right? Because, for instance, a lot of these banks, for newcomers and international students, they will waive your transaction fee for the year. they'll give you an account that you don't pay any, account fee for the first year if you're a newcomer, or they would, limit or reduce your transaction fee to a particular extent. So they're usually offerings that they have that in some cases they will let you in on, like, okay, this is what we're offering. But in other cases, you may need to press in to ask. So make it a habit of asking. And this is not just something that is limited to your banking accounts. It's also, it plays out even in settlement services. Like Orade was, talking us through some of the opportunities that she got with settlement services, where, if you ask them, they would tell you, just what kind of offerings for newcomers and students that they have, especially international students. So that's an important thing to note. Next slide, please. Orade, could you go to the next slide, please? Thank you. And then on taxes, so this is one of the new things, well, not new, because I don't know, I worked in Nigeria for a bit and I didn't really understand or cared to understand how the tax system worked. But in Canada, this is something that you will need to pay attention to. It's something that you can take advantage of the more that you understand how it works. And so, I'm not giving like a detailed presentation on taxes. That's a whole different session. I don't think I'm even equipped to do that. But the important things to note for someone who's just coming into Canada or settling in Canada and, it's pretty new, is that annually well, of course, when you get a job, in most cases, your employer will take the responsibility of deducting your income tax from your paycheck, and they will give you, the rest. But it's good to actually confirm, because in some cases, I don't know how it works in some jobs. In some cases, they may give you the whole thing and actually leave you to be responsible for making those tax deductions yourself. In some cases, they'll offer you the option of you doing it yourself versus them doing it for you. If you're new in Canada, I strongly recommend just let the employers do the deductions, because every year there's a filing, there's a tax return filing season where whatever deductions have been taken out of your paycheck or income for taxes, they have this, what do you call it, like a reconciliation, right? Where at the end of the day, if they've taken more than they should have taken, they will pay back what they call tax returns. But also on the flip side of it, if they have not taken enough, or maybe you, for some reason, all of your income wasn't declared throughout until that period, then it means that they may actually be asking you to pay them what's left. So annually there is that, tax filing, tax returns filing season. It typically runs from like February to April, May. I think since COVID, they started extending it because they realized that a lot of people needed more time to do it. But it runs for like a few months. I want to encourage that you understand how it works. In the first few years, if all you're doing is getting a job or, paying tuition and working for an employer, it's pretty simple to file your tax returns. And in most cases, you will find like free tax filing services, especially for international students. I remember at Carleton University then, they had this, for a few days, they actually got people to help students, international students, I think even domestic students, to file their tax returns, and it was free. There's some software, like I use TurboTax, that will let you do, they have the free version of the software, and then they have like the basic version. I don't know if they still have the free version, but you could check. They have the basic version that is probably $20. But essentially, when all you're doing is paying tuition and working for an employer and getting income, it's simple. It's really simple to file the taxes. You probably don't need to get any expert to do anything in that case. But by the time you start having investments and businesses, then you need to start speaking to, a tax professional, because there are a lot of fine print around how to file the returns, and actually beneficial for you, because at that point you'll be able to get some returns based on your investments, especially if you buy a house as well. If you've made any real estate investments, it's important to try and get professional assistance when you're filing your taxes, because there could be a lot of avenues for more returns. And there's also the need to just make sure that you're covering any loop, or you're covering your all your angles are not owing CRA money. You don't want to owe CRA money. And then one thing I wanted to bring to your attention in this tax return filing season, whatever charity givings that you've done throughout the year, and even your tuition payment will earn you tax deductions, right? So things like tithe and offering, which is kind of new. Sometimes I still wonder, like, oh, so the government pays me back for paying tax, okay, for paying tithe and for giving tithe and offering. But that's something that your church, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to add to that, sorry, before I forget that. Yeah, that's a very important point, but it's also important to know that you need to keep your receipts, anything that you want to file tax for. So if you give to a charity organization, most organizations will give you like an official receipt at the end of the year, close to tax filing season, because if you claim for anything that you don't have evidence for, sometimes the government circle back to say, hey, this thing you said you did XYZ, or yeah, where's the evidence? If not, you pay us back our money.
Exactly. Yeah. So most, like, your church will give you, their mandate, charity organizations actually required to do that. So they will send you like the annual, all you've given all through the year, totally, then give you a receipt. And that's the amount that you're going to use when you're filing your tax. So you can't just claim an amount. You have to have a document that backs that claim. Talking about keeping your receipts, like I already mentioned, is also very important, because if you've had any medical expenses, let's say you've had business expenses, you run a business, anything that has not been covered by like your income tax deduction. So you run a business, medical expenses, keep your receipts, because those you're going to have avenues to declare those expenses and get some returns in some cases for those. There's some documents you're going to need from your employer during that tax filing season, like your income T4 slip, for tuition payment, I forget what it's, T1 or so, I forget the number of the T number for that, but your school will give you that slip. Your church will give you the receipts, and other expenses, you keep your receipts. Another thing about taxes too is I think by now you should be familiar with the fact that you're paying what we call GST or HST, which is your goods and services tax, or HST if it's been combined with like federal. I mean, they're different. I guess in some provinces they let you pay GST, and in some provinces is HST. Whichever the case, you're already familiar that when you see something on the shelf for sale, that based on the province that you are, there's a percentage. Like if you're in Ontario, there's a 13% HST that goes additional on every good and service. So even when you're contracting someone, even when you're ordering online, the only thing that I think doesn't have a HST GST, as far as I am aware of, when you buy things like fresh produce, right? So if you buy food, fresh produce, not just anything, you may not get taxed on fresh produce, as far as I'm aware. And that's it on tax. I guess when we get into Q&As, we will talk more about that. Next slide, please. Thank you. And then for credit, so this is an interesting one, because this is where that cultural or paradigm shift happens. And if one is not sensitive to manage that transition well, they can easily run into debt and run into a scenario where you think, oh, I could just spend money, I have credit cards, right? So the thing is, your banks will offer you a credit card, right? It's important to get a credit card and to use a credit card. So if you're more on the conservative end, where you're thinking, oh no, I don't want to even have the credit card at all, that's not necessarily the way to go, because you need to start building what they call credit history, right? And credit history is just really just data around, you've had a credit card or credit instrument or possibility. How did you spend? How did you use that? How quickly did you pay back? Did you default on your credit? So all of that information, the banks have it, the government has it. And so when you get a credit card, you're building up your credit history. And this credit history becomes useful when you plan to buy a house and take a mortgage, or any other very substantial loans that you need to take. They will check your credit history. And in some cases, actually in a lot of cases, even when you're renting or leasing an apartment, your landlords will ask to check your credit history because they want to be sure that they're not, giving their house to someone who's going to default on rent. So it's important to get that, but it's also important to, watch what the credit limit is. So typically for like students, newcomers, your banks probably offer like 500. I don't know how much. I know when I came in 7 years ago, they offered 500 and they kept increasing it. They increased it once I was done with masters. But you also need to, because this is where you also need to kind of have some sort of discipline around it, because your banks are skilled to keep offering you this, right? I mean, recently they offered me 3,000 credit. I'm like, no, thank you. Keep it at 1.5. No, I don't even want the temptation. Thanks. So that's something that you will have to, decide, like, what credit limit are you good to go with, right? And then pay attention to, so when you use the credit card to make payments, pay attention to the payment due dates. That's very important because these credit cards come with an interest rate that is really high. So I forget how many days, I think it's about 21, I'm not quite sure, but your bank account will always show you the payment due dates on your credit card. So if you've spent, whatever amount from your credit card, after the due dates, the interest rate kicks in. And typically for credit cards is around 21%, maybe even more. I know the last time I checked for mine was 21%. So that's really high. So let's say you used, $1,000 from your credit card and then you went past the due dates, your 21% interest rate has started counting on the payment that you will have to make back to the bank. And so pay attention to that. There are also, apart from banks, there are other stores that offer, they're always offering credit cards. Walmart will offer, every store that has every chain of stores will try to offer you a credit card. So what I would say about that is, try and read the terms before signing up. I remember signing up for Walmart Master Credit Card, but the truth is I wasn't buying enough to earn the loyalty points or the rewards from it. So I had to cancel that eventually. So that's something you want to pay attention to. Do you really want to take that? I guess if you buy a lot from a particular grocery store, if that's where you're frequenting a lot, then you can consider it because you will, consider the rewards, the loyalty rewards from that, because they usually give like some points that can be used to purchase things. So that's something to pay attention to. So check out for that. It's also part of your cost savings tip is to check out for those, loyalty rewards that they offer. And that's something that this society offers a lot. So you just need to find out to be able to leverage those. Next slide, please. I'll just run through this in 5 minutes or less.
Sorry, I just want to chip in about the credit card, right? So
Yes.
when they offer you, when your bank especially periodically, when they see you are doing well, you're paying back when you should and how you should, and they offer you a new credit card, a higher amount of a higher credit limit. If you know that, yes, there may be temptation for you to overspend since you have access to that money, it's good to be careful and say, okay, maybe not. But an advantage to accepting that credit limit is because, like what Esther said about the 21%, right? Sorry, the amount you should pay, I don't know if you mentioned, like the amount to spend on your credit card before you pay off. It's recommended you don't spend more than 33% of your credit card, meaning if you have a credit limit of 1,000 or 10,000, it's recommended you don't spend more than 33% of that, because the government sees it as, or the institution sees it as, oh, so because we give you access to 1 million, you're spending the whole 1 million. You are probably not financially responsible, right? So they kind of prefer, you get better points when don't spend more than 33%, pay off before the due date, right? So with that calculation, you see that sometimes having a higher credit limit is helpful, because when you have $1,000 limit, 33% is smaller compared to if you have a $5,000 limit. So if you have a higher credit limit, it's easier to stay under that 30%. So they're like, oh, wow, this person is financially responsible. We gave you access to $10,000, but you're only spending this little and you're paying back regularly, consistently. Oh, yay, more points, right? So, and also, just in case you have sudden emergency need of cash, like I know a friend who suddenly lost her dad, right? Because she had high credit, so she was the one who actually advised me that whenever the bank offers you a higher credit limit, take it, because you don't know when you will need that money for an emergency. And the only other way you have to get that money is to try borrowing, or you want to apply. And when you are the one reaching out to the bank yourself to apply for a higher credit limit, you have to go through processes, you have to fill form, they will have to do security check and all of that stuff. It may be a hassle, but when they are the ones who offer you yourself, when you take it, you have access to that funds in case of emergency. Number one, in case you want to buy a house, you are trying to raise the down payment, you have this access to funds. Then also it helps you stay below that 33% spending, which gives you a higher credit limit. But for newcomers, that's having access to so much money can be a huge temptation. So you want to be careful about how you accept, these higher credit limits or these, credit cards that the grocery stores and stuff offer, because you may get in over your head. So it's just good to be very strategic in when you accept or reject. Yeah. So just wanted to add that 2 cents.
No, that's really great. Thanks, already. I actually just learned something new. I have to go and review my credit limits at 3%. Yeah, that's good. Thanks for that. Another credit, just even if I even touch on the cost savings tip, the banks offer not only credit cards, they also offer what they call a line of credit, which is typically more than a credit card limit. So a bank could give you, and in most cases, if you're looking to like make this huge purchases, you can speak to your banks about line of credits. I think their interest rates are probably higher though, but they have some conditions around lines of credit that are more favorable for huge purchases that you can ask your bank about if you need to. They don't necessarily bring that to you as an offering, but they only give that to you if you're looking to get a house or if you ask. And then, at the end of the day, really speak with your account officer and find out all of the all of your options. They're in this part of the world, they're actually obligated to give you information when you ask. So they're not going to not give you the information. So ask. It's pretty important. And then for the cost savings tip, just a few, of course, there are a lot of ways to save cost. And this is probably maybe if you're part of the finance group, it's something that will be addressed in that finance group. But just a few things as a newcomer that I think will be helpful. I mean, we all understand that if you have proper financial planning, right? Like you live within your income, you try to keep your rent and utility bills to like 50 to 60% of your income. That's something that you want to take a look at and explore. What percentage of your income are you spending on bills and utility? Because one of the things that really changes from a paradigm standpoint is that in Nigeria, you pay your rent like upfront, right? So you don't really need to measure it to your income. Like you pay for like 2 years rent upfront, you just get this huge amount of money you pay for that. But here, like living that monthly bills kind of life, you kind of need to look at your monthly inflow of cash and the monthly outflow and see what percentage you should keep it within to be able to be confident, really. Another thing that I didn't put here, which I try to advise, I've been trying to live by this rule for a few years, is to try and save up, calculate what does it cost me to live for a month? What is my expense for the month? And try and save up at least 3 months worth of that as an emergency, right? So that's something, because I mean, in this part of the world, I was saying this recently, I think it's in Nigeria that you get people that dash people money. I don't see them dashing people money here. They will help you in every way, but like give you money, that's a whole different level. It's in Nigeria that you go see an uncle, see someone and they'll give you dashing money. It's not happening here. So try and save that amount of money. And then smart grocery shopping. This is something I'm even constantly trying to take advantage of myself, especially for families. If you're shopping for not just yourself, take advantage of the low cost grocery stores like Superstore, Costco. It's not just that they're low cost, it's the fact that you can buy things in bulk and the cost is considerably lower than just going to your Walmart or your typical grocery store to buy things that are not in bulk. If there are things that you need to buy, like seasonal things, you may want to consider stores like Value Store that sells secondhand. So let's say if I wanted to take up skiing or an winter sport, I wouldn't start off going to buy a new set of sporting gear. There's a store called, I've forgotten the name, but it's for secondhand sporting gear, right? And because in this part of the world, their culture, they shop a lot. So they end up with way more than they need. So they're always giving away those things and buying things that, well, frankly, they buy a lot of things they don't need and then they have to like give it away. And so those stores clean it up Value Village, thank you. That's actually the name of the store. It's Value Village, not Value Store. So take advantage of those, especially for families. If you're looking to buy furniture and maybe you're just, just trying to get something for a short-term period or it's for a seasonal period, there's no, it's a shame. There's really no shame or any of that in going to get secondhand, really. It's not, the goal is not to own things that are not assets. The goal is to own things that bring you money. Every other thing you can basically settle for certain things. TFSA, like I had already talked about TFSA, you can use that to save, because then you don't pay any taxes on the interest for that. You can also automate, taking the money out of your checking account into your TFSA account. I know you have a credit card, but try to avoid consumer debt as much as possible, right? So credit card is useful if you have an emergency, like already was talking about, or if you're looking to buy an asset or, a house because it's going to appreciate. Or in some cases, there's some key necessities, like if you live in some cities, you need to have a car. You could get financing for that, but you really need to weigh that. But consumer debt, where you're just buying clothes with your credit card and you're not paying back, you want to avoid that because those things add up. Another thing I wanted to mention is to leverage. So there are some international students here, leverage student discounts. So there are some stores where they offer students like a 10% off on Tuesdays. I remember then I used to go to the Loblaws or so. They had for Tuesdays, they had like I forget the percentage. They had a percentage discount for students. If you come with your student card, they'll give you that discount, but it was only for Tuesdays. And it was fine by me because I could shop only on Tuesdays anyways. So try and find out what kinds of discounts the stores have and leverage that. Leverage community centers, settlement services, especially for families, right? Instead of looking for a private tutor, private, sports center, go to those community centers. When you have kids, they teach them a lot of things, and it's not, you don't have to pay because your taxes have covered for a lot of the cost of the community centers. So leverage that. You're already being taxed heavily on your income. So try and get for free as many things as the government gives for free. It's important to take note of that. Someone put something in the chat. Let me just, yeah, some charity agencies actually give out, yes, they give out stuff for free. So if you're ever in an emergency situation or a situation where you're just like out of cash, there are a lot of food banks, right, that you don't, if you need something, you need something. That's the truth, right? If you're in that situation, it's a temporary situation, go to the food bank, go to, there are a lot of those organizations that you can leverage, right? To be able to save on your cost. Of course, you don't need to take undue advantage of those, but you are using those to save your costs, especially when you're just coming in and you're trying, and there's a whole lot for you to buy. That's pretty much it. I think at the Q&A session, we can get into more specifics based on questions that you have. So I will hand this over to the next facilitator.
Hello. I'm sure you're wondering, where is she? Okay, so I'm sure you've been having a good time, every one of us. Like Esther said, I'm also not an expert at this, but we're just talking based on, experience we've had, information we've been able to gather, and some of the research that we're able to do. And some of us, I think I had someone said she came 2019. That's even my senior. So, but as much as we can, we'll provide the information that we can, and I can. Once again, I'm Afesobi Adewi. I'm in British Columbia. So we're talking about socializing, finding communities, dating, and making friends. For most of us, we know, like, coming to this place, this part of the world is like starting all over again. Like, making new friends, meeting people, we are skeptical, especially where we are from, Nigeria. We know that a lot of us, we are very careful. Like, there was once I met someone in the bus and was trying to, strike a conversation. I was an elderly man, Nigerian. I was like, what's this man trying to look for? That mentality of, please, so Edro, let's be careful kind of thing. But I realized, oh, was trying to just, oh, you just come in, trying to help you to settle. And so that we need to like learn to be open-minded to an extent in this kind of place. And we know that it can be difficult and it requires grace. It requires to be intentional in, meeting people and finding communities to settle in. And it can be also be very lonely if you're not careful. If you decide to say, I want to be on my own or do things on my own, it can really, really be lonely. And some get into depression. You find some people, not necessarily Nigerians, I know we're kind of strong and we're kind of, we have that I'm going to do it mentality kind of. So we try, some get to commit suicide and all, but for some of us, if you're not careful, you can get lonely and like, who sent me market? Like, why, how did I get here? And things like that. But there are things that can help us to, mitigate all these things. And first, like I said, you want to be deliberate and intentional. And this by going out to ask questions, to talk to people, when you meet Nigerians, like for me, when I see Black people, I try to just say hello. Especially for those of us in areas where we don't have much of Black people. In BC, we are not as much. Or like if you go to probably Calgary, you have more people. But here, when you see, we always say, as I want, at least I have my brother, my sister here in court. And like I said, you want to ask questions, you want to ask for help. Don't just keep to yourself if you have questions. You want to ask, do we have Nigerian communities here? Do we have neighborhood communities that are Nigerian? So for instance, here in BC, we have a Nigerian resident in BC group first. Then we now have a breakdown for women. We know we always have questions, especially those that are married with kids. You want to ask questions about school. You want to ask questions about, if church to go. You want to ask a lot of questions. So we have women group on WhatsApp. We call it neighborhood. So your neighbor will just look like, a certain kilometer away to us. We have a WhatsApp group that if someone give birth, we take turns to take food to the person for the next couple of weeks because there's no Omugo here. So we take food to the person, we contribute a certain amount to give the person to set, at least the first 1 to 2 months, the person is covered. And that's what community is about here. So you want to ask if you have things like that in your environment. And I know somewhere that I put, if you don't have in your community, you can start as well. You can help to, gather people of like mind together and start something. Now you want to join a Bible believing church. For those in areas where we have TCN now, you can, find and join. And I know we can still go online for service, but there's that place of the physical connection that you want to meet people, you want to, interact with people of like mind. So you want to join a Bible believing church. For some of us, we might have to probably prayerfully go to one or two and get, this is where I want to be. And you stay there, you find people, and like that, you are getting to larger community, you're making friends, and you are still, getting to ask questions and do what you need to do. Now, for those of us that are students here, have couple of students here, you want to get involved in activities. I know in school, for those that are doing masters or whatever program we are doing, we have, I know some have Nigerian Association of Communities. We have Yoruba Association, Igbo, we have different culture as well. And also you want to get involved in your class activities. Probably if there is student, not necessarily student, if you can, it would be good. At least there you can be able to get to know people, meet more people. And also if there are active volunteering work in your class that you need to do, you want to also be part of that. Like, okay, is there something you can volunteer for? Is there something you can do? Okay, I'm just saying I skip volunteer. You want to also volunteer in community. Like there are different places where you can volunteer. You have, I know there's a food bank. There's even in Nigerian community, they have we have what we call adopt a street. You want to help to go out on weekends, one Saturday a month, we clean the street. They have even some of the thrift store we're talking about. Some of them, they accept volunteers that you come and help to do things. With that, you're getting to meet people, getting to know more about the culture, because for some of us, we get there and there's that part of the culture shock of, wow, what is happening here and how to relate. There are some things like here, I think when things happen, when we say sorry, any little thing, we say sorry, like, why you say sorry to me? It's not your fault. I don't know if you have experienced that, like someone is coming and tripping, oh, sorry, like, why are you saying sorry? It's not your fault. Like, you don't have to say sorry. Things like that, different little things that are, that's how we get to know what the culture is like. you get to meet more people and make friends. Now, I put here, start your own community. Like I said earlier, if you don't have anything like that in your community, you want to start something, probably 1, 2, 3 people of like mind, probably pray together, talk together, ask questions. What is going on? Like we've heard so much about the settlement, the settlement establishment that help to settle immigrants. You want to, you know, reach out and get to know more things that you can do or how you can be part. Even some of those ones, they take volunteers as well. You can also volunteer to get to meet more immigrants that of like mind in your school, ask questions. Like there's no, I keep saying, very important when you come to a new place, you want to ask questions, because when you ask questions, you get direction, you get insight, you know, you understand better what is expected of you, what to do and what not to do. Now, when we talk about dating, this place can be very, like I said, lonely. It can consume you so much that you lose track of time. For some of us, and because it's hourly paid job for most of us, you come back, you don't even have time for yourself, kind of, because for those that are parents, especially, you come back, you want to, you know, take care of the kids, or know what's going on in their life from school. You want to make dinner. By the time you're settling, you're tired, and you know your time is just fast spent. And for those that are single, that are still trying to find life partners, you're like, you don't even have time to go out to socialize or to meet with people. So these communities help us to find people, especially Nigerians, or if you are open-minded to another culture, you can do that. So I put dating apps, question mark, question mark, question mark. And that's simply because I know in this part of the world, that's part of the, you know, the difference in culture. Some are, especially because we're Christians, some are okay with this, some are not okay with it. If you're okay with it, your spirit is cool with it, you can pray about it and carefully. I know people that have met on dating apps and they're doing well today and they're Christians and you're able to find someone of like-minded. So let's be open-minded to an extent and allow the Holy Spirit to help you to, you know, make the right decisions. But I know in this part of the world, it helps a lot of people who like, and you also want to select. I really don't know much. I can't say this. I know there are a lot different types of dating apps, but you also want to be careful. There are some that are just very loose, and there are some that are very, you know, protected for matured minds, for professionals, for people that, you know, okay, by the time you're meeting someone, you know, it's not just a refer for any kind of person. And like I said, and I pointed a lot, is be open-minded to, you know, meet. There are going to be a lot of differences, a lot of, you know, shock, a lot of adjustment, a lot of slangs we say. You know, there was a day at work, I was going to talk to one of my colleagues and say, "Oh, how far? How far now?" And she looked at me like, "What's she saying?" I'm like, "Oh, sorry. This is I know." And I told her, I said, "Oh, it's like a slang in Nigeria." And I told her, "How far now?" That when I say how far now, I can say I did. And now when I tell her how far now, I did. So I've been able to also teach her some of the things we do back home. And you know, you learn their verbiage and all here. And for those of us that have kids that are in school, you want to attend parent conferences. There's always like come meet with the teachers to know how your kid is doing in school, to know, you know, their classes, and you want to be careful because there are times they bring a lot of reports, and you want to be able to, you know, go also to find out what's going on. And by going to all these activities or taking your kids to school, if you can, you get to meet fellow parents. From there, you're building your community, you're making friends. You want to volunteer in school, there are messages. I know we get messages, "Oh, we need so number of parents to come. They are going on outside Thursday or outside Tuesday." You want them, parents, to go with them to the park. If you're opportune to, why not volunteer once in a week and you meet other parents? You can also see how your kid is relating with other kids in their class. You can watch from a distance. Okay, is there something you need to work on at home? Is there something that is right? And you know, you want to encourage the child as well. So you volunteer in school. Volunteering here, they are very big on volunteering in this part of the world. So if you have opportunity, any little opportunity to volunteer, please add. Let's try to do, because you also add to your resume. They know that, oh, this person can be trusted. This person is responsible. So you want to do the part of any, if you can, to volunteer. And for probably your son or your kid comes home and say, "Oh, I have this friend," and goes on about the person. You want to organize a play days, probably meet at the park, or if you are open to them coming to visit in the house, you get to meet the parents of the kids that your their own parents, and you know, you also see how your kid is relating with them, and like that, you're building more your community, you're making friends, not necessarily Nigerian friends, but you are spreading your tentacle to different parts or different places. So you get to know them, you relate better with people. With this, you'll be able to know those that have the same value as yours and those you can keep as friends. Like that's why I said you need to be open-minded to an extent. And from there, gradually, when you're stable and established, this I can keep as friend, this one I cannot keep, because you know their values, especially if you are doing play dates with kids and you see some of the things they believe in, you don't. Yeah, they can still be your friend, probably acquaintance more like, than being your people you can talk to, because really in this kind of the world, in this part of the world, you need someone you can talk to, someone that you can ask questions, someone that is like a go-to person. And I think basically that's what you need for in finding communities. Like I said, very important. You can ask questions, go online and make research and ask people around that. I've been here already. Don't try to be an island. Don't be on your own. You want to reach out to people, ask questions. If you find someone is sick, like we have people that have been sick here, and someone called, the person is in the hospital going for surgery, no family, no friends, but the people in the community, in the friend, the WhatsApp group, one that taking turns to go stay with her in the hospital, taking turns to go feed, make food for her, and with that you even feel like, oh, I'm far away from my family, because it becomes home away from home, because you've been able to make friends, and that's going to help us to go a long way in settling in Canada. Next slide, please. Hello. Okay, thank you. I was like, okay, I might be heard at all. Thank you very much. So next is working. I'm talking about career path and survivor jobs. Okay, thank you. So we know that moving to a new country, starting your life and career all over again is a huge shift for most of us. For like having to start at a certain level, or for some of us, we are students and we're like, okay, what can I do to settle in this kind of environment, to to make a living, to pay for my bills. Like we all joke about that. The day you land or you step foot on Canada land, this country, your bills start running. Like you start paying bills. So we know that, and we also know that you want to progress in our career. We didn't live wherever we are from, Nigeria, or some of us from other countries. We didn't leave those places to come and just do anything, or just come and be carrying files for people. No, we want to progress. It's part of our plan. We want to make a future for our family, of our children, or have something to send back home. But while we are doing this, while we're trying to get back into our field, while you're trying to write exams, while you're trying to do all these things, you want to, sustainability is a key factor. You want to be able to survive, to pay your bills, to pay your rent, I know some of us can go like, the bills here are so much, especially by the time you get your paycheck and the tax that has been deducted. You go, wow, like I'm technically paying almost everything is going into the tax. You want to be able to get something that will be able to pay your bills even by the time you get your net income. So survive, and that's why a lot of people start with survivor jobs. We have all sorts. You can be customer service, working at the store for the grocery stores. For those that are in school students, you can work in the school library. There are a lot of things, or the canteen, or the restaurant. The restaurant in the school environment, and this will help you to cover your living expenses, pay part of your bills, your school fees, and some of these jobs they don't require much skill or education, like some of us already know. And this can be a part-time thing for us, temporary or full-time, depending on what you want. Now, survivor jobs will help you to pay your bills. It will help you to gain Canadian experience. Now, Canadian experience is very important. I will use myself as an example. When I first came, thankfully I got a job straight in the dental field. I was a dentist back home to work as a dental assistant, even without experience. What they were offering was very little, but someone said, just take it for a few months, because you need that soft skill, that Canadian experience. They know that if you can work in an organization in Canada, it means you can relate, you can communicate to people, you know that soft skill, not necessarily what you've studied in school, your communication skill, it's how you're able to interact with people, how you're able to work with other, staff in the office without trouble. Those are things they look at, those are things you gain. And like I said, the culture difference. The culture is the way they do things here. Some of us are used to saying sir, sir, ma, but yeah, you have to just call them by their names. And for those of us that didn't work in multinationals back in Nigeria, that you have to go like you're bowing, you are coming on one side, you cannot work on the other side. It's a lot different here. So you have to adjust to those things. And working, whatever you get first, that can pay your bills and fees dignifying enough, it helps you to get the Canadian experience. And it's also a good way to network. You meet people from different cultures, from different countries, different backgrounds. You'll be able to relate better with them. And one thing I want us to be careful here is, there's just always this saying that when we get to work in this kind of part of the world, they talk a lot. I don't know if maybe I'm the only one, but I know quite a number of people have. They can come and tell you how their husband did not do this for them, and you want to be careful. It's not every conversation or every discussion you have to be part of. And these are things you learn when you go to work. You don't just want to jump and, that's same thing with me too. My husband is, please, let's be careful. Let's watch what we say. Let's our conversation be seasoned with grace. That they know that there's something different about you. They do what we call bickering here a lot. They talk about this person behind them and they see the person and they are laughing. Like, who is their best friend? But back in the staff room, they just crucify the person. And when you join them, when there's going to be issues, they will drag you into it and probably even put more blame like you were the ringleader. So you want to be very careful. I'm not saying don't make friends, but watch what you say, how you talk to people, and how you relate with people of different cultural background and all. And this will also get you occupied when you're doing survival jobs. But when you're at this, you want to be very careful not to get distracted from your goal of getting back into your career, because some get probably, they're able to make something reasonable from whatever they are doing. Don't get distracted. What are your goals? You want to set goals for yourself. That, well, you're not the only one. This happens every day. So you want to be careful not to be distracted. You want to set goals for yourself. For some of us, if you can afford it, as soon as you come, you can jump into the exams, the certifications immediately. But if you cannot, probably you need to work a little bit. While you're working, remember there is a goal, there's a target to go back to whatever field you were before or that you're planning to get into. What are the certifications you need to do? You want to, start focusing on that. Don't get too distracted, too sucked into that job that you forget about your plan. Don't get too comfortable. I hope my time is not up yet. Don't be complacent. Be ready to grant more interviews. Like I have a friend I met here that really helped me when I came. Like she was the one that told me to take my first job. She said, "You are not loyal yet to anybody," and really, by the time. Because the truth is, when you move from wherever you're doing now, whatever survival job you're doing now, to the next level, you can never get less in terms of pay. And probably you're moving to a more satisfying job or a more comfortable job as you're moving. So you want to keep searching till you get what you want. Don't go online and research. Okay, please, next slide. Thank you. I think I have moved like this. So I need to move a bit faster. Next slide, please. Thank you. No? It's not the next slide. Yeah, okay, thank you. How to get your survival job, I'm sure a couple of us already know the website, Indeed, Workopolis, Craigslist, Canada Job Bank. Some people get on LinkedIn, I believe. You want to go back, you feel that, okay, probably you're working in a bank back in Nigeria, you might be able to still get something. It might not just be at that level, but you might still be able to get into the system. Approach local stores to drop your resume. When I was trying to change my job from my former dental office, I think I submitted my resume to about 25 clinics in my neighborhood. I was going from one office to another. This is who I am. And I submitted even though I think one or two called me. One might call, two might call. and none might call, but it's worth trying. There's no harm in saying, oh, working, oh, are you looking for, this is my resume, and you drop it for them, and some will call you back, and you can call to say, oh, I dropped my resume like a week or two ago, and they can call you back. Hello? Okay, thank you. They can call you back. So you can also reach out to the newcomer settlement agencies, like we've heard earlier on. They can help, by the time they do training, they do work, there's a way they call it. I'm trying to remember. If you remember, please help me. Work balance. They just train you on, how to get the soft skills that are needed at workplace training. They do that for you. And for some, they help you to get internship in some places, trainings in some places, and they help to get work job as well. Then networking, can probably in a community by please, I just landed a few weeks ago. I am still looking for work job, or something to do. And you find out probably someone in the group they have openings in their offices or in their office, and oh, please, you can come in and oh, we need this in our office. Are you able to do it? And they're able to link you. And because everywhere in the world there's connection, even here there's connection. That's why you find out some establishments, some organizations, they do internal adverts first before even posting it on Indeed or any of these job sites. You want to, that's part of networking. If you're my friend and I know, oh, you're looking for something and there's an opening in my office, I'll call you. Oh, there's an opening in my office. Like right now, there's an opening in my office, literally. And I'm like, my husband, like, do you know anybody that can fill? I'm like, really, I don't know. But if I can actually know someone, I would have helped the person submit resume and given a good work for that person to say, oh, I have a friend that needs, that wants this job, and this person is good and all. So like getting back into your career, like I said, if you need to take additional exams, if you need to take courses, exams, certification, and you want to find people around you that are, excuse me, that are in that field, that have been able to get into the system, ask them questions. Some have WhatsApp group. I know there's some Facebook page that have, your profession, what you can ask questions, you can, find out from them what they were able to do, because they tell you some professions you can't get in easily, but some have been able to get in, meaning it is possible. So you want to ask them how were they able to do it, and their exams and all that work. Excuse me, please. And that's the community. You can go on LinkedIn, you can ask them to mentor you, and getting back into that your career field and path that you're looking toward. Volunteer in your field. So probably you are doing survivor job right now, or you have something else that you are doing that is not related to your field. You want to volunteer, even if it's once a month or twice a month, so that you can see how this is done in this part of the world, how things are done in this part of the world. So if you are probably a lawyer, it's possible you want to volunteer in a law or a firm to just observe them once a month or twice a month. That's not going to hurt. It's going to help you to. You can also have that to your resume, and people see that, oh, this person is actually serious and ready to, be part of the system again. Be open-minded to have a career change if it's possible, if you want to. Canada is a land that is filled with opportunities. Now, for some of us, we get there and you feel, you know what, I think I'm ready to shift. So once you know you're ready to shift, you want to get into it right away. Don't say, oh, I was this back in Nigeria, and you feel, oh, if there's an opportunity somewhere, if you want to, you can. And like I know a lot of people have gone into business analysis, data analysis, IT right now. And go read far and wide, go online, research about opportunities around you that's going to help you, if not necessarily what you were doing before. Like I was talking to someone recently about being a dental hygienist, and the person was shocked by the time I told the person what they do as dental hygienist. I said, you've never heard. So, but he said, but a lot of people want into nursing. I said, yes, nursing is good, but people don't know how much. I was telling the person, a fresh graduate from school for dental hygienist, what they earn. And she was shocked. I said, the minimum you can get is $45 to $50 per hour as a dental hygienist. But most people don't know. And you're independent of the dentist. 90% independent of the dentist. The person was shocked. So what they didn't know, asking questions, doing research will help you to, guide you and let you know, okay, these are things I can do. And finally, with God on your side, the land will yield its increase unto you. You want to stay positive. People say a lot of things, but your confession is very powerful. What do you want to achieve in this land? Write them down and keep saying it to yourself every day. Be it in your mind first, and it will manifest physically. Thank you very much.
Okay, so hello everyone. So I'll just be talking about daily living tips. Everybody ahead of me has sort of like said some things that like covered in what I'm going to say. So um I might go a bit quicker because I know people might have some questions and time is of essence. And so like I just remembered something when Ode was speaking and she talked about low budget house. And I thought, oh yes, people actually had access to that. Totally forgotten about that. But generally, because we have people here that have families and people that like students and maybe came all alone and things like that. So housing depends mainly on like various factors like your budget, the size of your family. If you are one of five, it's really, it really determines a lot of things. If you have, children, the ages of your children, daycare, schools around your areas, which is very important. I always tell people if you are coming with your children that and they are like they are very important, and you have to look at your area and the schools that they will be going to because every because yeah they do the schools are in according to your address. And so before you rent anywhere, my husband knows me for this, before we rent anywhere, well, where we even are now living and or you own a home, it's good to know the school district, where which school your children will be going to, and also maybe go online and check for information about it, or generally schools in your school district, how they do. And something I say is that, and they've said it, live if you can, you can live close to a public library. It makes life easy because there's so many benefits. You can either go there to study, internet, print. For the children, they always have activities, that can keep them engaged. So, so because yeah, they emphasize a lot on life, as in work-life balance. So being able to have these places, even recreational centers, they've talked about it, to public recreational centers, your children, let them learn how to swim. You yourself can learn how to swim, use the exercise facilities and things like that. And they're affordable. They're, not too expensive, especially the public ones. And you can, pay as you go. You might not need to like do a membership like the private ones, which are also good. Then you also have to look at your distance to your place of work. I know right now some people might not have a job. Hello? Might not have a job yet, so you might not be able to analyze that. But with these other things, also make sure it's near grocery stores, so that in case you forgot milk, there's no conflicts in the house, there's no food, you not start thinking you have to go far distance. And especially when you first come into Canada, try and look for places that have transport options available while you're walking your way to getting your driver's license, and also your car. So for shopping, basically, I like deals because I have a big family. so I always try and save, try and find any sort of savings. So for people that have like families, you have 2, 3 kids, if you have kids on diapers, things like that, getting like a Costco card, I don't think you will go wrong with it because you'll be able to buy things in bulk. But people that are like maybe alone or it's just husband and wife, you can go to other grocery stores and they have all these their flyers, and look for things on sale, and always like plan your your menus around that and everything. So me, I'm always a dude. So I just, I have this, there's this flip ad, app. I know it works in Alberta. I don't know whether it works in all provinces. And there you have all the flyers of like nearly all the stores available that have flyers there. So you can just go through it, and maybe you have a wish list, things you need to buy. And then if you see them if you see them on sale and everything, you can now like sort of like buy. Then we've talked about getting all these grocery store cards, and they're very good if you're going to use them. Like Esther was saying that she got Walmart, but she wasn't really going to Walmart. That doesn't pay. Look for the grocery store that you like, or the things that are like affordable, and you might be, and just make it like, okay, this is like my major go-to, because sometimes those points or those what they call, sometimes they'll do it in money ways, or they'll do it in points ways, and you can use it to actually go to the store and buy something free eventually. So I always look out for things like that too, because you're trying to save money and be, and be on a budget sometimes. So having all this, if you are going somewhere every day and you're buying things, and groceries, clothes, and household items they're expensive in Canada. They're pricier than most other countries. So I feel that if I'm going to spend this much, at least I should get something back and be able to use it and everything. And for newcomers, there's nothing, as in, it's always good to plug into a settlement agency, because you get to meet other people. So there are newcomers also coming, who might also be coming from your country. You understand? This is, as in, I will not lie, the going through the, as in, settlement agencies helped, because for household items, some of them just call out of the blues, especially if you are registered with them, that, oh, someone like donated or said we could go pick up new mattresses. I got new mattresses. I didn't pay $1 for it. Canada is a good country. I will not lie. So you did make a wrong choice coming here. So, because they know that, it takes a lot, especially for people coming in, trying to settle down. You're trying to get a home, get your children in school, trying to understand the new lifestyle, and still trying to get a job, which a lot of times initially they might be asking for Canadian experience. So any way you can try and save, they are also, most of the agencies, they really have nice people. They ask you for what you want. Sometimes, initially when I came, they were telling, okay, you could go to the food bank. Well, I feel like, I can't go to food bank and everything. I said, it's not a thing of shame that this, how expensive, we understand groceries are expensive. And if you go there, they will definitely give you bread. They will get a lot of non-perishable items that can actually save you a lot of money. So if you are new and you have the opportunity, these are your resources to use now. There'll come a time that it's taxes you'll be paid. There's no more, there's no more benefits like that, but you'll be happy to do that because you know where you are coming from. Do you understand? And then on my side, because I stay in around Calgary, we are very lucky to have African stores. I know Ontario would now also have an issue with African stores. So though they are pricier, but you can buy it in bulk, keep your gari, so there's nothing like you can't find our food here, or that you are worried about Nigerian food and disturbing yourself to bring plenty from back home. We have here, you can just get used to paying the price for it, because not every time you can be shipping food to Canada and everything. Then for things like fruits, vegetables, things like that, we have a lot of this, the Middle East shops, the people from Pakistan, they have all this, because I think most of their diet, they have to eat fruits, so they sell fruits in bulk. So what most people do here is to, when all those things are on sale, things we like, banana, apple, things, people come together and say, okay, let's buy a whole carton, then we divide it into 4. You can buy that whole thing for like $15. While if you go to a normal grocery store, one small pack can be like $8. So by that, you're also like trying to save money. And also for single people, this can also help you save money. Find people that, like-minded people, like what Afosobi said about, joining groups around your area. That's when when things are on sale, gather with people and say, okay, you buy a box of plantain. Going to buy individual plantain. You can buy one plantain for over $1, but you can buy a box of maybe 20 or 30 plantains for $15, and everybody takes like 2, 3. By the time you even calculate it, you're paying pennies. So it's good to look into things like that. For people that travel around and things like that, when you come to Canada, when you come to clothing, you might be very disappointed. There's not a lot of variety, especially people that maybe have gone to England a lot. Please do not be disappointed. Learn to adjust to what we have here. Clothes are expensive, and then when it comes to winter, you have the winter boots. Yeah, don't even joke with it. The boots, your gloves, your head warmer, your neck warmer, everything. It's always pricey. And then this where the settlement agencies also help too. There are sometimes that people like donate. Don't be, yeah, people don't, as in even when you go to thrift stores, sometimes you even see some brand new things because some people just buy things they even forget they even have. So it's always good to look around and have get good deals. Then for household items, if you can get from the settlement agency is good. Then check thrift stores. A lot of people drop off very good things, as in Facebook Marketplace. If you are good at gauging things, my husband is very good at, as in a lot of things. I look at it, we just say, where did you get this? Oh, I got $5. I got the person is moving. So how come that? So they just want to dispose of it. It's very good. So, but be careful because it's not everything that is like good online or stuff like that. Then you can now decide on your own whether okay, maybe you prefer some things brand new, and then you would have made savings on these other things like drawers you can get from thrift stores that's still in good conditions. If a normal drawer now can be like 200, 300, all those nice wooden ones that we take for granted in Nigeria and everything, but you can go to a thrift store and they may sell it for $30 and things like that. So it's always good initially when you're coming either as a student or a family, look for all these deals, be open to people, as we have all been saying, because most of us are the first generation that we are coming. So it's among ourselves that we build this community. I hear some people say I don't want to stay where Nigerians are, Nigerians don't. I always look at the northeast of Calgary where I stay. Most of the people from the Middle East, when they took over, now they have people in office, now they have a voice, and that's the only way you have to build your community. We cannot run away from our community. And then most people here, they are working, like where I live, as in, well, like 5 Nigerian families. I can count how many times I've seen any of them, unless you purposely decide to go and visit and you even call them, because people are working. Either the wife is working day, the husband is working night. People don't have time to be really, most people don't have time to be looking into your matter because their own matter is on their own head. Do you understand? So it's good to reach out because, and talk to people, because like I don't even feel what I've said is extensive enough, but when you are all on these all these groups and you meet with people, they're able to like tell you more. There's a group I'm on, they talk a lot, but me, I'm always looking for when they say there's pepper on sale in this place. I'll just, please, who is going there? I'm interested. Where do you live? Or I can come and pick up things like that. And and that's how you build your community. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so just to talk about the different seasons and just some tips about them. So for anyone coming back from like Africa, because we don't really have snow, I know like that and everything, or from Nigeria, we have the spring, summer, fall is just like a rainy season, the hot season, and like a harmattan season. The winter is like something very different, and that people people have to take notice of, especially if you're not familiar with. So normally I say in this Western, when you're in the prairies, as in our winter is long, sometimes September snow has started falling, but luckily so far no snow, but it's going to start, who knows, it depends on mother nature. But I think my first Canadian experience, my first snow was in September. Nobody was expecting it. It was really a bad day because cars were stuck, people had not changed to their winter tires, or people did not expect it to be that bad. But that day was it was a good introduction. So normally during springtime, that's like April to June. I'll talk about winter last. People hike, they cycle, you visit parks. It's just driving is easier. Schools is usually like the end of year for schools, because schools usually end in June in Canada and everything. So people are graduating. So it's just like a milder, rainy type of weather. Then the summer, everybody comes out because summer is really very short, and and once you have spent one Canadian winter, you understand why why summer is always packed full with activities, either sports or people are traveling. Canadians like to travel. So so if you are planning on going anywhere between June to August or September, buy your tickets early, you understand, and plan. They plan a lot here, plan and do that. Then also, use for example, in Calgary, we have the Calgary Stampede for like nearly 10 days. It's always fun, doing July 1st, if you can find out where they're doing the fireworks in your community, try and go, because these are all the things that, we've said we have come here to make it home. So try and integrate and get into that. And then the fall is nice. It's not so hot, it's not so cold. That's when we normally have Thanksgiving. People are taking pride in learning how to do the turkey and their arm and everything, just get used to the color, to the culture, then get but warmer clothing as as the leaves are changing. And then you'll see there are more pumpkins around this fall time, and all the pumpkin lattes and stuff. You can just try them and see, just to be able to state I tried this in conversations, because there's a lot of side conversations. Therefore, driving tips and winter, I'll just try and summarize. Winter is very different, and we have to know how to be appropriately dressed for it, and also how to drive. It's not like the normal driving, you have to give adequate gap between your cars. You have to make sure, because like, sorry, that my province, that sometimes it can go as far as -30, -40. I would advise during winter time, get winter tires. All seasons, I don't think all seasons can last, can really help with the grips that you would need. And then expect that sometimes your car will slide. So just, as you go out during winter, always pray if you are driving. Make sure you say your confessions. It's not, and then, just drive carefully. I'll just stop here, because I know we might have some questions, and we are mindful of people's time. And I just want to thank you all for listening to us, and we're open to answer any questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Okay, any questions from the group here? I think Uyinka raised hand. Yeah, Uyinka, you can come off mute and ask your question.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, really, for the very enlightening presentations. So my family comes by the end of this month, comes to Canada by the end of this month. My daughter is 5 and will be 6 in January. Normally, I know, okay, grade 1 starts from 6. My son turns 4 next month, November 7th. There is this part of, okay, thinking about schools and all that. Should we probably wait until my daughter turns 6, so she starts from grade 1, instead of going, okay, maybe kindergarten and having to wait the whole year till about September next year before she goes to grade 1. My son too, okay, I imagine kindergarten, I think kindergarten 4 or 5, whatever the case might be. So I need clarification on that. And okay, I think that's that for now, really. My wife is on this call too, so yeah, she's taking notes.
Okay, regarding schools, once your child is 5, your child has to be in school. As in, you cannot hold that child back at home. They will call say it's negligence. So once they come, the one that is 4, I don't think my own province starts from 5. So the one at 4, maybe you have to put them in preschool or a daycare for now. But once that child is 5, whatever time they get to Canada, you have to go to the school district and register them. Find the school in your area, take them there. They will know that they are starting a bit late after their peers. So they would get a teacher or someone that would follow up on them and ensure that they catch up with their peers. But they can't wait at home. Once they're school age, they must be in school.
Yeah, so what I wanted to confirm, the what's it called now? Grade 1 is supposed to be 6 years, not 5, right?
Well, it depends. Like my own province is 5 years. What province are you in?
Ontario.
Okay, I'm in Alberta. Can anyone in Ontario speak about it?
Okay.
Okay, go on.
Is up there on the call?
Ontario is also 5 years.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. That answers my question. Thank you.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm in Ontario. Ontario starts by 4. And they start from junior kindergarten by 4. By 5, so by 4 to 5, they are in junior kindergarten. By 5 to 6, they are in senior kindergarten. And by 6, they are in grade 1.
Yes.
So if your child is going to clock 4 that year, they can start school.
Okay, so for my daughter that clocks 6 in January, normally I would not want her to wait 1 full year before, because by the time if she has to wait till September next year, that means she's going on 7 before she enters grade 1. And I really would have wanted to avoid that by all means. Just ensure that she is I don't know.
Actually, the school system here, it's not, you don't have a say where which class your child will be. So when you get to when you browse, when you get your housing sorted out and all that, and maybe you've checked the school that you want your child to go to, you will go to the district board online, register, and then they are the ones that will submit their birth certificate and all that. So they have all that information on the district board. You submit everything, and they will be the one to tell you that your child will be in this grade based on the age. So that is sorted out for you. You don't have a say concerning where you want your child to be in kindergarten or senior or grade 1. It's only if you want to go to a private school.
Yeah, because they base them on their age. So like in Alberta, before they used to do January. So like now, if you were born this year, they used to do January of 2022 to February end of February of 2023 for people to be in the same class. But now they've even stopped that. Now they do, if you are born in 2010, all of you born in 2010, you'll be in the same class. Do you understand? They use your age for your classes here, because most likely by the time you're in high school, they normally graduate high school like 18, 17, 18, the people that are later on, but they are going to turn 18 that year. So they are very, very, they don't like rushing people, because sometimes they'll say, okay, they can, like my son now, when we came, they just said that, because it fell in February and then they were still doing it. They changed it the next day, but they now said that, you know what, let him stay with people that is age mate. There's no need to put him in the class before, because eventually, he's coming to a new environment. Let him take his time to adjust, because we too, as we're adjusting, our children too are going to learn how to adjust to the new system.
Does that help, Onyeka?
Yeah, that helps. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sorry, I posted the link in the chat. Yeah, sorry, Ontario starts at 4. I posted the link in the chat that gives you a breakdown of the school system in Ontario. Let me help with any other questions you have.
Any other questions? International students?
I have a question. Sorry, I should have raised my hand, but I wanted to find out, and I think this goes to Esther because she talked about finances. Is there like a good time to pay your credit card bill? So I've heard people tell me things like, oh, try and pay closer to when you have your payment due dates. And then I've heard people tell me, like, once you see your how much you're supposed to pay, you can pay it any time. So does the time you pay, if you pay too early or if you pay too close to the time, definitely not after, but then does the time you pay affect your credit score or anything in any way?
While I cannot really validate this, I've also heard that if you take a few days after, let's say you made a payment with your credit card for $100 today, you shouldn't hurry and go and pay it back to this evening or tomorrow, because you want it to stay on the record for a few days. The short answer really will be just make sure it doesn't go past your due date. That due date is the most important piece of information as to when to pay. right? So you can pay it a day before the due date, few days. You also need to put in time for settlement, right? Because sometimes you make a bill payment, like if you make a bill payment on a Saturday, it's actually a Monday settlement for the bank. So that's something you will want to be careful for. And I guess you're asking it because you're particular about how it impacts your credit history. So I would just say the most important thing is just don't go past your due date, right? Because that's when it will negatively impact your credit history, in addition to the interest rates that you're going to pay.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
Another thing to note is that that because I know sometimes as newcomers, some expenses might come up and then you might not be able to pay everything by the due date, but there's always this particular minimum amount they always tell you to pay before a particular day. Please pay that amount, or not pay that amount, pay a little bit more than that amount, because that keeps your credit score in a good standing, that they see that they're trying to manage your debt and everything. This for people that that it might go over. And then you should also recognize when they would start charging interest. Most times, most banks say like 21 days after. So if you make a purchase today and everything and your stuff is closing tomorrow, they are not going, that purchase today is not going to be like really affecting your score, because you just made it today and they're giving you some time to pay it back. Always pay back later before that 21st day or 20th day, or else you're going to start paying interest on it. So this credit thing is a game. You have to know how to play it. But as you have come initially, just make sure you do your payments. Once you have stabilized, there are a lot of tricks to it, and how people know when they take expenses. So they take expenses around the time, maybe if it's now, and they know that maybe they are getting paid in the next 10 days and their closing day or something is like 3 days later. So you can make that expense now, knowing that money is coming before then for you to offset that bill. But that's for when you have settled down. But now just make sure that you make your payments before your due date. And if you cannot make everything, make sure that you make more than the minimum payment they asked for. That's very important.
Inka, you have your hand up. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, another thing around getting a car, there's a part of me, because I am currently in Montreal, it's a part of me that would have wanted to probably get a car in Montreal and to actually aid easy movements once I get to Ottawa. But I understand that if I do that, I will have to re-register the car in Ontario province, I think after a month or two. Also, there's this talk about insurance being cheaper in Quebec, and so I don't know what is the best advice. There's a part of me that I think as at the last check, what I wanted to do was probably wait until I get to Ottawa and just get a car. But I don't know what advice you guys would give on this, basically.
I would say that if it's to try to save on insurance, yes, a number of people use a location with a less expensive insurance for their cars, but it's not really advisable, because if something happens to your car, before making any payment, the insurance company will investigate. And if they realize that you were not truthful, or you misrepresented yourself in any way, they will not pay you, right? So using a different location for your insurance from where you actually live is actually a very big risk. It's maybe better to just go through the normal process, get the car, get the insurance where you are now, and then when you move, you just have the information on time that, okay, this is what Ontario needs. Okay, I have 2 months. Okay, within 1 month, start the process so that you can, get the new papers in line before the cutoff time.
Okay, maybe I'll just wait to get to Ontario before I do that, instead of having to do double registrations. I guess that's what I'll just do.
Yes, if you can, yes.
Thanks.
Closing.
Thank you. I just wanted to add for the brother that asked about the school stuff that please don't forget to get your children's immunization or your child's immunization, as the case may be, record in Nigeria before you come. I hope you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Yes,
really.
up to date.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for that, Tosin. Any other questions? I know we're like 15 minutes past time, but we also started really late, so. Okay.
I would just like to add that, yeah, even if you think of any other questions later, you could try to reach out to any of us. But most importantly, Google is your friend. I find that every single relevant information you need about this country, you can find it online. You could search on Google. If you don't like reading too much, you could search on YouTube and you'll find lots of videos. There are lots of people who that's their like full-time or side-time job, getting every single updated policy, updated bill, updated information from the government, and breaking it down in simple terms for you to understand on their blogs or YouTube channels and all that. So anything you are curious about, or yeah, you could just easily search it on Google and find the information you need.
One last thing, I'm putting a link in the chat that has it's a Google Drive link. It has a document that was created by the Nigerian Association in Calgary or so, but essentially they put together a document for new immigrants. It may benefit more people that are in Alberta because of the provincial separations, right? But it's if you need that, if you need to reference that, the slide deck will also be in that Google Drive for reference as well. Okay, already, would you want to wrap this up here?
Thank you, everyone. Sorry, it's a bit noisy where I am right now. But yeah, thank you everyone for attending the session. I would say it would be great to connect on LinkedIn. You'll have our names on the LinkedIn. We have our names on the slide deck, so you could reach out to us, send us a connection request. Just add a message, add the message saying where I was at this session and whatever, just so I know that it's someone from this call, the connection request. And if you would like to connect with anyone else here on the chat, you could also drop your LinkedIn full name or your LinkedIn profile link in the chat, so we could all connect with each other. We would also like others to connect with you as well.
Someone has a question. Does in Ontario?
No, I think it's those in Ontario.
Oh, okay. Question. Oh yes. Service is that TCN or what? Okay, I didn't hear.
Yeah, it's TCN Toronto. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks. Yeah, I'm hoping to visit soon myself. I want to go see that.
All right. You're more welcome.
Yeah, I went once and it was very nice. I got small chops and malts.
Yeah, and service is at 9:30 every Sunday at the Simplex at Etobicoke in Toronto, 1025 Queensway Drive. So looking forward to as many people that are in Toronto. Anytime you visit, join us for service.
Awesome. Okay, thank you everyone for your time. Thanks for joining. I'm going to stop recording and have a wonderful weekend. Bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Nice to see your face again.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone.